The conflict between Israel, Lebanon, and Iran is not new, but the recent developments have brought the region to the brink of a wider war. To understand the latest tensions, we need to delve into the complex historical, political, and military relationships between these nations. In the last few days, there have been renewed clashes and threats that highlight the volatility of the Middle East, and the risk of a broader regional conflict. The roots of this conflict go back decades. Israel and Lebanon share a border, but it has often been a zone of conflict rather than peace. Since Israel's founding in 1948, it has experienced multiple wars with its Arab neighbors. Lebanon, while not directly involved in most of these conflicts, became a battleground due to the presence of various militant groups within its borders. This was especially true during the Lebanese Civil War, which lasted from 1975 to 1990. One of the key players in Lebanon's political and military landscape is Hezbollah, a Shiite militant organization that emerged in the 1980s, initially formed to resist Israel's invasion of southern Lebanon in 1982. Over time, Hezbollah grew in strength, supported heavily by Iran, and developed into a political force within Lebanon as well. Iran's support for Hezbollah has been both financial and military, including the supply of weapons and training. This backing has made Hezbollah a formidable adversary for Israel. Israel views Hezbollah as one of its greatest threats in the region. The two sides fought a brutal war in 2006, which left over 1,000 people dead and devastated parts of Lebanon. Although that war ended in a ceasefire, it did not resolve the deep-seated hostilities. Since then, Hezbollah has only grown stronger, amassing tens of thousands of rockets capable of striking deep into Israeli territory. Iran's influence and Iran's role in this conflict cannot be overstated. It has long sought to expand its influence across the Middle East, and Hezbollah is one of its key allies in achieving this goal. Iran's involvement in Lebanon is part of a larger strategy known as the Axis of Resistance, which includes other groups like Hamas in Gaza, and various militias in Iraq and Syria. These groups all share one common goal: resisting Israeli and US influence in the region. Iran's influence extends far beyond financial and military support. Politically, Iran uses Hezbollah to maintain a foothold in Lebanon, and this creates a significant challenge for Israeli national security. Tehran views Israel as an adversary and uses its alliance with Hezbollah as a means to threaten Israel from Lebanon's border. Over the years, Iran has equipped Hezbollah with advanced weaponry, including precision-guided missiles, making the group a far more sophisticated and dangerous force than it was during the 2006 war. Fast forward to the last few weeks, and we see a dangerous escalation in violence between Israel and Hezbollah, with Iran's shadow looming large over the conflict. The most recent flare-up began with increased rocket attacks from southern Lebanon into northern Israel. Hezbollah, likely acting with Iranian support, fired several missiles into Israeli territory. In response, Israel launched a series of airstrikes targeting Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon. The exchange of fire marked the most significant clashes between the two sides in years. While these types of skirmishes are not entirely uncommon, the intensity and frequency of the recent attacks have sparked concerns that this could lead to a larger war. Israel has made it clear that it will not tolerate Hezbollah's growing military capabilities, particularly its missile stockpile. On the other hand, Hezbollah, bolstered by Iranian backing, has shown no signs of backing down. The situation is further complicated by the ongoing political crises in Lebanon. Lebanon is experiencing an economic collapse, severe inflation, and widespread political dysfunction. Hezbollah remains a powerful force within the country, both militarily and politically. However, many Lebanese citizens blame the group for dragging the country into conflicts with Israel and other neighbors, diverting attention from Lebanon's internal problems. Despite this, Hezbollah maintains significant support from segments of the Lebanese population, particularly in Shiite-dominated areas. Iran's involvement in the current escalation is undeniable. The recent attacks and responses have occurred amid heightened tensions between Israel and Iran across the region, particularly in Syria, where Israel regularly conducts airstrikes on Iranian targets. Israel's military doctrine has long been clear: it will not allow Iran to establish a permanent military presence in Syria, which borders Israel to the northeast. To this end, Israel has carried out hundreds of airstrikes against Iranian and Hezbollah targets in Syria over the past decade. With these ongoing Israeli operations in Syria, Iran's proxy forces, including Hezbollah, may be using the Lebanese border as another pressure point. Iran views these tensions as part of its larger strategy to challenge Israel and undermine its security, using Hezbollah as a tool to apply pressure from Lebanon. In this light, the recent rocket attacks could be seen as a message from Iran to Israel that its influence stretches beyond Syria. Additionally, the timing of these escalations is notable. The region has been experiencing a period of relative instability, with both Israel and Iran undergoing significant internal political shifts. Iran's hardline stance has only strengthened with its more conservative leadership, which has taken a confrontational approach toward Israel and the West. What makes this situation particularly dangerous is the potential for a larger regional war. If the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah were to spiral out of control, it could draw in other regional actors. Iran, as Hezbollah's primary backer, would likely play a direct or indirect role in any extended conflict, potentially providing more military assistance or even mobilizing other proxy groups in the region to attack Israeli interests. Israel, too, has allies in the region, most notably the United States. The US has long supported Israel's military efforts and could be drawn into a broader conflict, especially if American assets in the region come under threat. This would further escalate tensions, not just between Israel and Iran, but also between Iran and the US, adding another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. The international community, particularly the United Nations, has called for restraint on all sides. Various countries, including the US and European nations, have expressed concern over the possibility of a larger war and have urged both Israel and Lebanon to de-escalate. However, as tensions remain high, the prospect of a lasting peace seems distant. There have been efforts to mediate the conflict, particularly by countries like France, which has historical ties to Lebanon, and Russia, which has been involved in Syria, and has relationships with both Iran and Israel. Diplomatic efforts aim to prevent further escalation and bring both sides to the negotiating table. However, the deep-rooted animosities and the involvement of multiple regional powers complicate the situation. For now, it appears that both Israel and Hezbollah are preparing for the possibility of continued hostilities. Israel has bolstered its forces along the Lebanese border, and Hezbollah has hinted at further military actions. Meanwhile, Iran remains a key player behind the scenes, and its involvement will be critical in shaping the outcome of this conflict. The recent tensions between Israel, Lebanon, and Iran are a continuation of long-standing hostilities that date back decades. While the current skirmishes may not lead to an immediate all-out war, the situation remains highly volatile. With Iran backing Hezbollah, and Israel determined to prevent any further buildup of Hezbollah's military capabilities, the risk of escalation is ever present. The coming days and weeks will be crucial in determining whether this conflict can be contained or if it will spiral into a larger regional war involving multiple actors. Diplomacy remains the best hope for avoiding further bloodshed, but with so many competing interests at play, achieving peace in this troubled region remains a daunting task.